Matt Rodder.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'd like to welcome you to your place. It's a pleasure to speak in this important debate and to follow colleagues from across the House. And I would like to say that the bill is a step forward. However, I have very serious reservations, and I want to build on the points made by my honourable friend on the front bench, and also indeed by other colleagues across the House, including the Father of the House and others. First of all, I think it's very important to focus on the single most important point about this bill, the single most important weakness indeed, which is that many, many thousands of existing leaseholders are not going to benefit from this bill, and they're going to be penalised with huge, exorbitant costs, far above what they could possibly pay off, due to the way that the government is tackling this deep crisis and the lack of funding, the insufficient funding to make good the very serious problems with leasehold properties around the country, which have become more and more apparent following the Grenfell disaster and indeed in the subsequent 4 years. It's simply deeply unfair that people who bought properties in good faith in Reading and across the country should have to pay enormous sums of money to make those properties fire safe. Not only dealing with cladding, but a range of other issues which I want to address today in my short speech. There's also the very serious issue of properties under 18 metres, and in my area many blocks are under 18 metres high, and I'm sure colleagues across the House will have the same issues in their constituencies, and the residents of those blocks deserve to be treated much better by the government and the industry. So to give colleagues a small example of what this might mean, I would like to just describe a property, an attractive looking property, a desirable property next to one of the rivers in Reading, an attractive block, beautifully designed with an attractive foyer, a great place to live in many ways, central to the town, but in the case of a fire, potentially a dangerous rabbit warren of small corridors which it would be difficult to escape from. This block contains a huge amount of fire safety problems, and tenant and residents may have to pay £150,000 each to get these put right. And these include issues with fire doors, issues with the doors into flats, issues with a lack of internal partitions, so that a fire could rip through a block that contains over 100 separate flats, a whole range of other difficult problems, and these are not addressed by the bill, and they need to be, in my opinion. I would also like to briefly mention the issue of the confusion and indeed the lack of information until the very last minute about the EWS1 form. Now, there are serious issues with getting these forms, and it's right that the government look into this, but to present it in this way as a written statement on the eve of a debate surely can't be right, and I would ask the Secretary of State and his colleagues to really reflect on this. It's caused a great deal of confusion and concern today. It's perplexing. Equally, briefly if I may, Madam Deputy Speaker, there is a model already of how to resolve this, and that's the Australian model, as indeed has been mentioned by colleagues across the House. And just finishing briefly, ultimately this is a question of leadership from the Secretary of State and